Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Blackmoor. Today, we're going to be trying a little bit of an experiment as we try and help Durleth to get a new job. And this is experimenting creativity. For you see, I have come to the table with an absolutely blank mind. I sat down and I had no clue what I was going to do. Usually, when I sit down to do things, I have some idea of how I'd like the story to go or what I would like to do with my character. But today, total blank slate. I have no clue what I was going to do. In fact, I almost did something else completely, but I feel like I should continue Durleth's story. So I've got a little bit of reinforcements. We're bringing in table fables again. So the last time we played, Durleth got out of a pretty sticky situation by some miracle, and he ran all the way back to Mouse. And he made it, although he's a little shaken up. He's happy to be behind the city walls again. But we're going to go about and see what sort of job he can take. It would probably be wise if he linked up with a few other adventurers, but he's stubbornly antisocial and is going to try and continue to do things the way he wants to do them. So, he's going to go poking around. And after he's rested and he's had some food, he's going to look for a job to do. So we're actually going to go into Table Fables and we're going to look for a quest. Now, one gripe I have with Table Fables when it comes to quests and things is that sometimes these are almost too substantial, if that makes sense. And what I mean by that is, where I come up with that idea is my friends and I did sort of a group solo role play, meaning we didn't have a GM or anything. And when we were using Table Fables to generate stuff for us to do, it was all like starts of bigger quests, where it was never anything like simple to make money, like, oh, I'm going to go mend a roof today, or somebody needs help carrying stuff from one point in town to another, like being a temporary porter or anything like that. It was all very, it all led to kind of bigger things when all we needed was simple work. But in this case, that gripe doesn't count because we are kind of looking to get into something bigger because we want to continue Durleth's story. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to go to part 1, and that's quests. So we're going to roll our D100 and see what kind of things he can find specifically within the city of Mouse. And I'm going to try and take whatever we roll and make it fit into this category. If it ends up making us leave the city, that's fine too, as long as the circumstances are good enough. So we've got a 70, just a flat 70. And let's see where this is going to take us. So here we go. We are invited to the wedding of a close friend. The party's nemesis is hell-bent on ruining the fun. And the party must fight off their foe without disturbing the ceremony. Okay. So this is some close friend of Durleth who, seeing that Durleth's back in town, they're like, oh, Durleth, I thought you were going to go out and I thought you were going out to do something really big and important. And Durleth says, oh, well, I had to come back because it just wasn't working out. He doesn't mention running into the world's most chill vampire or dashing through a giant group of were-rats. Doesn't bring that up at all. So this friend says, "Oh, well, that's perfect actually, because I'm getting married. By the way, this friend is male, and he's getting married to a lady." And he says, my old rival from my school days, I suspect he may show up. let's say this is some scenario where this friend that's talking to Derleth. If I had the other table fables here with me, I would roll a random name. But you know what? We'll call this guy George. George was part of a. He was kind of part of a larger clique when he was in school, and this clique involved some other guy that he was friends with, and they were both kind of sweet on the same girl. But this is the guy that ended up winning Fair Maiden's heart, and the other guy is not happy about it. So he's going to try and ruin the wedding. So one of the main reasons he's inviting Derleth is because Derleth is a wizard. And not just kind of like a normal worker in the city, like his other friend group turned out to be. So I'm going to say that this guy who contacted Derleth, George, they weren't super close friends, but they were sort of in the same orbit, if that makes sense. And so he knows that Derleth went on to study magic, and so would be, he's sort of a connection that isn't like a merchant or something like that. Derleth wields kind of immediate power and can and could affect the situation in a big way. Which, I mean, he really can. I think we have sleep. Which, if you have sleep, you basically just kind of win. I don't see it. Did we not take sleep? Or is sleep not in this system? That's interesting. Yeah, I don't see it. In any case, actually, that makes this a lot more interesting because he can't just go, boop, you're asleep. And, yeah. So Derleth will say, yes, I can help you out. My fee is my only 22 gold. Derleth's really hurting. He's just like, yeah, I just want $22, man, and I'll do this for you. So George says, really? That's great. And Derleth's immediately like, I should have asked for more. But we agreed. So it's going to be our next thing. So the wedding is in 5 days, so about a week. We have some time to prepare. We get the information from him. And you know what? I think this is the book that generates buildings, isn't it? Because if we can generate buildings, we can generate kind of like what this place is. Yeah. We sort of like a house generator. Towns and events. Events and encounters. That's an interesting one. Page 84. We might be able to determine the features of this wedding and the party. Events and encounters. Oh, interesting. Okay, so these are things that can happen like when you're like in town or in a tavern or something. This is going to determine how the rival messes with the party because cultists. Oh, that's funny. Okay, so yeah, this could easily spiral into something completely unhinged, and I'm there for it. But first, let's generate where this is going to take place. Towns and cities, primary architecture, town center, quality of life, and history. Building generator. Here we go. All right. Okay. Yeah, that's exciting. I'll be right back. I'm gonna go get a sheet of grid paper, and we're gonna map out this building, and then we can see exactly how this is gonna go. Well, in a strange twist, it seems that my wet erase marker is lost. So we are actually just going to use paper and a pencil. And so let's go ahead and generate this building that this wedding is going to take place in. Let's see. Dungeon events and encounters, world building generator. Here we go. Okay, so we're actually going to need a couple more denominations of dice to do this. I'm going to need a D8 and a D4 in addition to what I already have. D4 and a D8. There we go. So first things first, building type. So evens, odds. So no, here we go. Not evens, odds. I misread that completely. D6. That's a 6. This is a religious building. That makes sense to me. And then a D4 will determine the type. This is a religious school. This is not at a temple. So let's see, just for fun, what's the type of construction we have here? 6, dismal. Poor flimsy construction. Let's see. I suppose just for fun, the building material, I suspect this is actually, oh, it's a wooden building. So this is an old wooden religious school. And we're looking at a fairly large building. That's like 1,000 square feet. So that'd be like, was it like 100 squares? That doesn't matter. We can generate this like any other kind of dungeon or building, just with rooms and stuff. I'm actually gonna make this more like a medium establishment. So it's gonna be like 500 to 1,000 square feet. This has 2 stories, so that's 10 to 17, and it has oh, that's a typo. That should be a D6. It says D4 for a basement. So it's D6, 2. There is no basement, so there's 2 stories. Oh, and structure age, I suppose, just for fun. 3 D100 years old in the wooden building. I mean, sure. Why not? Not that this matters for our situation here. So it's like 108... it's like 170 something years old. Yeah, I guess that makes sense. Wooden building to be 170 something years old. Anyway, we're looking at a 2-story building, and we can. I guess I'll sketch that out now. So this is a 2-story religious school. Okay, I think I can do that. All right, so here we have the school building. I was thinking up some of the lore behind it as I was drawing it, and I realized that since Derleth knows these people like George, it stands to reason that he probably went to school here as well. So this is a religious-run school, and it's run by the Church of the Facts of Life. And if you're wondering what that is, I have no idea. It's one of the 2 religions vaguely talked about in First Fantasy campaign. So it was either that or the wishy-washy way. As to what they represent, I have no idea. As far as I've read, Dave Arneson does not elaborate. So what I'm going to say is this is kind of just sort of a stand-in monotheistic religion. And I said they'll follow sort of a teacher god, because that seems to be that screams facts of life to me. So let's go through this a little bit just to take a look at what we have here. Derleth is able to enter since he's sort of a known previous student. He spent most of his childhood here. This is just the lower floor. I'll explain why I only drew the lower floor in a minute. But this is a pretty old building, so it has some stuff in it pertaining to its history and its founder. And the front doors here, these are 2 10-foot doors, kind of a grand entry here. To either side are libraries. This is student library and faculty library. Right here, surrounded in kind of these bollards with like ropes going in between them, is a statue of the founder, which I imagine to be sort of a man in robes with a staff and a handful of scrolls. Along the similar vein, we have some display cases, 4 of them, that have things pertaining to the school's founding and the people involved in its construction, and just history having to do not just with the religion, but with the building itself. And then, so here we have 6 classrooms. There's not like a ton of students that would go here, but or maybe there are, they're just kind of crammed in here. And each one of these kind of has its own function. Like this could, I didn't really think about it while I was doing it. This looks more like a reading room. This looks more like a sort of natural science or practical room where you would learn about like plants and things like that. I didn't actually draw anything in here, but these are actually faculty offices. Most of the people who would work here are priests, not clerics, but priests. These people couldn't cast spells or anything, but they're religionists that would know the doctrine of the religion that owns the school. So they would probably combine that with their lessons. So in the center here, this big area is a big old fat chapel. There are 2 doors here, and then a set of double doors here. These are all pews. These are some pillars going up the center, and up here is sort of like this is sort of the pulpit. In front of the pulpit here, this is sort of I imagine sort of like an altar of some kind. And then these are some sort of small decorative altars attached to the wall. And right here is like a big kind of stained glass window. This is probably the most valuable thing in the building because the stained glass is so old. Although I imagine some of the woodwork here is pretty valuable, particularly sort of the banister going along the staircases here. Upstairs is mostly dormitories. On one end you would have the faculty, and on one end you have the children. And in the middle, I assume there's some kind of common area. I don't know how common the idea of students actually staying in the school would be. As you can see, this is not exactly an isolated position. There are some sort of nondescript buildings that surround the school on all sides. So maybe at one point it was a little bit more isolated, but the city has since kind of moved in and consumed the area around it. So it's very possible that a lot of the upstairs dormitories are usually just, I think they're used for storage now. Excuse me. So this is kind of what Derleth is seeing as he's sort of checking out the venue they've got, and he's reminiscing in his old school days. So he has a week to kind of prepare for this, and I'm not sure exactly what he would do, but he is going to sort of get an idea of how many people are going to attend this wedding, so he knows just how big the crowd's going to be. And let's roll a D100 here, and there's 51 people invited. Okay, that's fairly substantial. So that's going to be friends of the groom, friends of the bride, and I'm imagining some immediate family. Give or take some coming in from out of town. Actually, travel up here isn't a super good idea. 51 people coming to a wedding like that is actually that's pretty substantial for the Blackmoor area. So, we've got quite the job, and I suppose something he would have asked George is, did he ask anyone else to do this? Yes, he did ask some other people to come and help work either security or probably security, a lot like Derleth. So we might actually be meeting his party here as well. So we can go ahead and determine who these people are going to be as well. So consulting some random roles, we've determined that there are 4 others in addition to Durleth that are going to be coming to this wedding as sort of security detail, if you will. There are 2 demi-humans and 2 humans. So we have Brega the dwarf, a 3rd level fighter. That's fantastic. We have Kel the halfling, a 2nd level fighter. And then we have Hans and Donna, who are both 1st level fighters. So a bunch of fighters, which is nice. Normally when I play magic users, I don't have like a ton of fighter support, and that usually results in the loss of the character. So we have kind of a really solid, really practical hands-on party here. So Durleth will probably call to meet them later on during the week. But actually what I kind of want to do is we'll actually assume that he does this. We'll go ahead and skip to the night of, because I'm kind of excited to see how that goes down, and whether or not this proves to be a bonding moment for him and this party of strangers. I could roll to see if he had gone to school with any of these people. So let's see. How about the dwarf? No, she's a complete stranger. How about the halfling? Yep, he knows the halfling. I don't know if he went to school with him, but he knows him. And then Hans, no. And Donna, no. So he knows Cal, the halfling fighter. So I suppose that's sort of, he has at least one potential party member for later, but maybe I'll just take these guys with him on another adventure later. Anyway, let's go ahead and skip to the wedding and see what happens. So it's the day of, or is it day or night they choose to do this? It's night, actually. So this is sort of in the evening. A lot of people are kind of mingling out here, and the service is going to be taking place in here in roughly... I rolled a d6 for some reason. I'm trying to make sense of the 4. But just in a few minutes, Durleth and the others are kind of doing rounds. So they've sort of positioned them by the doors here, but they wander around and they sort of mingle with the guests. Durleth sees a few familiar faces, though he didn't really know anybody from school very well. So as they're all kind of mingling with the guests, we can roll to see what tonight's mischief is going to be. So I can't actually remember. I think it was page 84 where all that crazy stuff was. Yeah, this is the events and encounters. And there's some pretty unhinged stuff on here. So I'm not going to look at it too hard. I kind of just want to roll something and see what happens. And we can translate that into the scenario. It's a 67. So 67. Oh, interesting. Except not really. That's actually pretty expected here. So 67, a bell rings and the townsfolk begin walking towards the temple. So I'm going to say the service is actually starting now. So a lot of people are starting to move into the chapel there, and they're getting ready to take their seats. Meanwhile, we're going to be posted up kind of around there. Maybe one of us is inside. You never know who's going to be in on it. In fact, we'll say that Durleth and Cal are actually inside in these corners of the room here. Meanwhile, outside, you've got Brega, Hans, and Donna by the doors looking around. So let's roll one more time and see if anything happens at all. I think something is going to happen, though. It's a 96. What the? Okay. It's a little strange, but I want to see if I can make it work. So it's a saddled horse trots through town. In this case, it trots into the school, and there's no sign of its owner. So a horse just comes walking in. It's 1, 2, 3. Comes walking in this door here. Just a riderless horse comes walking in here. Brega is the first one that sees it, and she, being a dwarf, being very practical, is going to immediately assume that something's up, and she's going to go check it out. So we'll roll yes or no. Is there anything kind of weird about this horse? That's a no, but for the sake of the story, I'm gonna no. So it's just kind of it's got kind of the saddle and everything on it. So I imagine that she can kind of hear through the door. There's sort of the service going on. There's one of the priests up there who's officiating the ceremony, and you can kind of hear the murmur of all of that going on behind the door as she kind of slowly approaches this horse. And let's see. What's something we can do is actually, you know what? So she sees this horse. I'm actually gonna. Sorry, I'm laughing at the imagery in my head. Because this could literally be nothing. We don't even know if this is part of something that's going on. This could literally just be somebody's horse that got out of a stable and wandered in here. Because it could be that they actually brought food, and it just kind of smelled some of that and came to see what was going on. So does anything happen at all whilst we're kind of standing and watching all this? Does the horse result in anything? That is a 5. So yeah, it's so. Do I want to just make it up? No, I like the idea of leaving it to chance. We're going to try this one more time and see if anything happens. If nothing happens from this, then what I'm going to say is we're going to have an I object moment. And what that means is that George's rival is going to have come in person with a group of people that support him. He maybe got in through disguise, but we'll name this guy and see what happens. So if nothing happens, yeah, that's what's going to happen. Is just a bunch of drama is going to unfold inside the chapel. So that's just a 90 flat. Come to the table with no plan, and things are determined to be normal for once. Something not very fair about that, you know what I mean? A 90 flat. A pair of guards asks the party if they've seen a red woman with a scar. We're not going to... Oh. Okay. So this red woman with a scar, we're not asked about this person. This red woman with a scar. We're not going to use the guards. We're going to use the lady. And this lady is not who we expected to be there. We actually expected George's rival to be there, but this is not the case. This red-headed woman, we're going to say, was also a classmate that became an adventurer, a little bit like theyre, but she probably had a little bit more success than him. Well, maybe. We'll the only reason I say that is because of what happened last time. So this lady, this is an I object moment, but not the way we thought. She's after George, and has come back to forcibly call off this wedding. So she stands up dramatically in the pews and is going to throw back a hood, and she's going to say, "I object. You can't go through with this kind of thing." This is where Cal and theyre should probably step in. So there's a couple things I want to determine before we engage with this lady. I'd like to determine whether or not she came with help. So we're going to see if anybody else stands up in here. clearly aligned with her agenda here. Yes. So we're going to say maybe 2d3 others are also here with her. So we'll say that is 4 others besides her. So that means that we're basically evenly matched. So we have 5 disruptors and we have 5 guards. And we're going to see if this degenerates into a conflict. Because obviously, if she's willing to come and to mess up this wedding, she's feeling pretty passionate right now, and emotions are running very high. And so her friends all stand up with her, and Derleth and Kel are immediately going to step in. Actually, Derleth motions to Kel to go get the others. Actually, I'm starting to think that the horse outside probably belongs to this woman. Do we know who this is? Does Derleth recognize her? No, Derleth has no idea who this is. But obviously she knows George, and she's not cool with George marrying Sandy, who I named just now. And so Derleth is gonna sort of raise his voice, and he's gonna say, "Hey, you can't be doing this. You got to get out of here. Come outside. Let's talk." And let's see how. Actually, you know what? I'm going to say, since emotions are running so high, I'm actually going to give her only like maybe a 2 in 6 chance of actually listening to Derleth and going outside and speaking with him and allowing this to continue. So if we roll a 5 or a 6, she's going to cooperate and she's going to come and talk. That's not a guarantee that she's going to agree with everything we have to say, but we've at least got her out of the chapel. What is that? That's a 3. That's a no. Yeah, she's not going to cooperate, which means this is going to degenerate into, it's probably going to turn ugly as she turns and starts throwing insults at Derleth. I'm just interested if George knows. George obviously knows who this is, but does he dramatically shout her name or anything? Or are we going to just fight this nameless person? No, he doesn't say anything. He and Sandy are stunned up at the altar as the other 4 follow, or the other 3 follow Cal back in, and I think we're gonna have a brawl in the chapel. Up at the front there, in front of the priest, we have George on the right and Sandy on the left. They're in front of an altar. And then as we pan backwards, there are other civilians here, but I just didn't put miniatures down for them. I didn't want to get confused. So here you've got, let's see those names again. Over here you've got Hans, the fighter. Then you've got Derleth. You have Donna. You have Kel, and you have Brega. And then hidden in the pews, the pencils are all the backs of pews. You have these 5 who have shown up. This main lady here, who seems to know George, has brought 4 of her friends, which appear to be her adventuring party. And they've come to support her in whatever plan she's got. So we need to stop her before she gets up there and does whatever's on her mind to disrupt this. She's unpredictable at this point. She might violently attack either the bride or the priest, or attempt to do some harm to George. We don't know, but our job is to stop her, and her party's job is to stop us from stopping her. So that's our plan here. Okay, so here's our setup. Word of warning, I have never ever run combat in Tanisborg Z before, but I'm going to give it a shot, and I'm going to go by their combat sequence. There's no need to check for surprise because both parties understand that they're there. I don't see anything as having initiative So I guess we just go along and we will have characters execute their intended action simultaneously. So the first thing that's going to happen is all of our characters are going to move. So our intended movements are Hans is going to move towards the center here, hoping to block her, who is going to move up the aisle. They're going to move to intercept these guys. They're probably going to try and move to intercept these guys. And Donna is going to pursue her. So we'll kind of move these guys, and we'll try and adjudicate that, how that would go. And see, because I'm not exactly sure how fast things are. I couldn't find that, so that's going to be. Let me move these guys around, and we'll see where we go from there. Although, Derleth isn't actually going to move. He's actually going to start casting a spell, but spells don't quite go off yet. So let's move her. We'll go kind of like flat 5 for each of these. So that's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Although she might get stopped here because Donna, I think, is going to try and subdue her. We'll have her execute that in just a second. But for now, we're just going to do the movement. He actually is armed with a bow. So I think he's actually going to back up, and he's going to be threatening these two. He's not going to immediately attack. And likewise, he's going to move to the edge of this pew here. Although, once again, I think they would meet here. And Cal, seeing this guy pull a bow out of nowhere, is going to try and duck behind this pew here. This guy is going to turn, and these two are probably going to meet in the middle here. So far, things haven't become specifically violent. I think Derleth can still move and cast spells, so I think what he's going to do is he's actually going to move here. So the next thing that happens... Okay, it says movements carried out simultaneously. If the question of possibility of given movement arises, the referee decides at this time. So we just kind of decide how those things go. And this seems rational to me. See, there's going to be a strength check here. There might be traded blows here and here. And I'm not sure what's going to happen here. We'll figure that out. Let's see. If not in melee, projectile weapons or spells or set spears or turning where possible, carried out simultaneously. Okay. I'm going to say then that there are probably at least 2 instances of melee happening. In fact, I'm gonna roll for that. Do these guys engage in melee? Is there violence there? Yeah, there is. How about over here? Yeah, there is. And we already know that Donna is going to try and wrestle this lady down. So we will do that now. Let's see. It continues until a victory condition is met or up to 10 rounds. Morale checks are triggered. Okay. So, some interesting stuff about this game is that melee is actually quite intense because as you level up, you're also add your level to your rolls regardless of your class. And then depending on your, you have something called, I think it's called fighting proficiency. What is that called? That's like, I think that's called your fighting prowess or something. And of course I can't find it when I need it. Yeah, this is a lot more detailed than what I normally do, which I might end up using. Anyway, so depending on your level, you can actually roll more than one attack, and that includes even for magic users. So even magic users have the potential of doing a lot of stuff in combat. So, man, I completely lost my place. So I guess we'll just wing it. So here's what we're gonna do. First thing I'm gonna resolve is I'm gonna do this strength check here, where Donna is gonna attempt to grapple this mysterious red-haired woman who's shown up and drawn a sword. So Donna has a strength of 15, so she needs to roll 15 or lower to succeed her grapple. She's failed, actually, which means we're going to have her move a little bit further up. So that was 1, 2, 3, 4. So she's going to make it about here because Donna failed to actually grapple her. So now we're going to have melee break out here and break out here. So Brega was already on the offensive, moving inward. We're going to give her the first attack. As this guy had just turned and had drawn his sword, she's going to attack with her hammer. This guy's armor class is 5, and she is operating as a 3rd level fighter. So she's going to add 3. And let me see if I can find the fighting proficiency for a fighter real quick here, because she's going to add that too. Fighting capability, that's what that is. As a 3rd level fighter, so she's going to add her level of 3. She's also going to add another 2. And her fighting capability is 3. So she actually has 3 attacks that she's going to do. We might go back and forth. So this first attack by Brega, she needs to beat a 15 because that's his AC. That's a failed attack. We'll let him attack back in kind. Her AC is also 15. And he is a 2nd level fighter. So that's plus 2, plus 4. That's a 16. That's a hit. So that's 1 hit for him. And then we're going to go back to Brega. Wow, another fail. Then we'll go to him. Another success. He gets 2 hits. On Brega, Brega might actually... I'll roll to see if he's trying to be lethal in just a second here. This could go really bad for her. She gets the last attack. She actually gets a 3rd. And finally, she lands 1 hit. So we're going to do both of those damage rolls for him first. Brega has... let's see. That was going to be... That's 9. She has 15 hit points, and this guy's doing 2d6 damage. So he does 7 damage, I should say. Is this guy trying to be lethal? Wow, yeah, he is actually just trying to kill her. So she takes 7 damage. Holy cow. Okay, so that just got really real over here. Now these two, we've got the halfling fighter versus the human fighter. The halfling is fighting at a level of 1. The fighter is also fighting at a level of 1. So that's kind of a toss-up as to who goes first. She's pretty quick, but he was kind of already coming in for the attack, so we'll roll randomly for that one. She's odds, he's even. That's an even roll, so that means that Hans is going first. So Hans is going to get in there with his sword. By the way, she's operating at a AC of what did I have for her? Her sheet isn't right here. We'll call that 15 as well. So that's an AC of 5, so he needs to roll 15. He actually missed his attack. She's going to respond and also miss. So they're just they're clashing weapons right now. This guy's going to attempt to leap over this and try and stop Durleth from casting a spell. So this elf guy with the sword is going to attempt. His dexterity was not super great when I rolled it. I think it was about an 8. So he needs to roll below an 8. He rolled a 2, so he manages to jump here, and he's going to attempt to hit Derleth. Derleth has some protective magic. He's got an armor class of 6, which means that this guy needs to roll a. He needs to roll a. What is that? That's a 14 or higher. That seems backwards to me. Either way, he's operating as a level 1. That did not connect with Derleth. So I think that's. Oh, I got to resolve whatever's going on here. Is this guy actually gonna try and shoot? He is. He's gonna try and shoot. To shoot our guy Kel here, which he succeeds in doing, dealing a single damage to Kel. That's lucky, because Kel's a second level fighter. He's not quite as sturdy as Brega. Now that melee is over, Derleth is going to get his spell off. He's going to attempt to cast. Illusion. He's going to try and conjure the image of a monster here. Illusion is actually a very potent spell in this system. So he needs to roll above a 5, and then he's going to roll his exhaustion. He got a 16. The spell goes off, and he summons a monster. So there it is. Derleth's spell goes off, and he summons just something straight out of his imagination. This creature is illusory, but can do real damage, depending on their saving throw. This is just kind of a big 3-headed dog monster made of shadow and his own emo angst. So we're going to see what she does there. Okay, so exactly how this spell works is this thing. It's anything visualized by the caster, no larger than 30 feet in any direction. Phantasm, thus created, will have the smell, sound, and appearance of whatever the caster thinks at the moment they trigger the spell. A save versus intelligence allows victims to see the illusion for what it is. Anyone believing the illusion to be real can be damaged by it due to shock from apparent wounds. Damage is d6 plus 1 point per 2 levels of the caster above 3. So here we go. Starting into this next round here, Derleth is going to. Well, let's move everybody around first before we do anything. I'm getting excited for this thing to do stuff. Also, I should probably roll some kind of reaction from her to this, because this thing, I imagine it just sort of congealed from the shadows under the pews, and it's almost like it just popped out of nowhere. So let's have these guys move around real quick. These guys are kind of going to stay where they're at. Cal is going to hop the pew. We're going to have him do some dexterity. By the way, this is actually supposed to be. No, yeah, it's roll under. His dexterity was pretty high. He's a halfling. 10 is perfectly adequate for him to get over that pew and get into melee distance with this archer here. Donna is going to continue chasing this woman up the aisle. I'm going to roll sort of a reaction from her to see what's going on. I think this should be like a personal morale check. So let's take a look here. That's a 2. She's shaken. She isn't broken. She is. She's convinced that. Actually, that's kind of insane when you think about it. This monster appears out of nowhere, and she's still pretty determined to do what she's trying to do. But maybe she's just brave and foolhardy. So she's actually going to move right up to it, and it's not going anywhere. It's blocking the way. Actually, you know what she might do? She might actually try and move into these pews and try and leap over. We're doing a lot of pew hopping here, but it's very dramatic in my head. She may try and do that just to kind of get around it. So we're going to have her roll. She is wearing plate armor. Or not plate, but she's wearing some pretty hefty armor, and she's going to try and get over this pew. and especially in a panic situation. I don't imagine this going very well. It actually goes great. So she is going to make it over the pew into this one. That's pretty much where her movement ends. And this guy is, I think, going to continue to try and wrestle with Derleth, who he has perceived just cast a spell. And Derleth is actually going to, he's going to draw a mace just to defend himself. Although he might not actually want to hurt this guy. But we'll move into melee now. We have still two. We'll move her up here as well. Although she's probably also going, what the heck is this thing in the middle of the chapel? But Derleth yells at her, kind of just keep going. So let's continue this melee here, in this new melee here. So she has just taken 7 damage. She's not looking super great, but she is going to press the attack. She's in a frenzy, which I think modifies the attacks. Let me look that up really quick. No, I think it's like a furious attack or something. There's like specific actions that they lay out for combat. So furious attack. I think that she gets like a bonus to hit or something. Combat damage die. Gang attack, ferocity attack. When faced with a particularly desperate situation, when alone, let's see, characters and monsters may attack with ferocity, temporarily giving them a +4 to hit and damage. Ferocity attacks can never last more than 6 rounds, and will be up to the referee to determine what situation will warrant a ferocity attack. At referee discretion, the aftermath of a ferocity attack may result in fatigue for the attacker. It absolutely will. So she's going into kind of a fury. So this is her first attack. That's going to add another +4 on top of her plus, I think that was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So she has a total of +9 to hit this dude. That's a... sorry, I started doing the wrong math in my head. That's a 17 total, I think. Yeah, that's a 17 total. That's well enough to hit him, so that's 1 hit for her. He's going to return the favor and fail to hit her. Here goes another attack from Brega. Keep hitting stuff. Plenty. That's a 2nd hit for her. And that's a failed hit from him. And Brega's final hit, that is another successful hit from her. So she's doing 3d6 damage to this guy. Oh, geez. And she's killed him outright, actually. She bludgeons him to death with her hammer. So that was a really good knock in the head. Then we'll move here. We'll have Kel do his melee attack against the archer. The archer is going to have to drop his weapon and draw a melee weapon. So we'll have him do that in just a moment. So here goes Kel attacking with melee. This guy is operating on, his target number is like 13. Something about that math isn't mathing correctly in my head. I'll figure it out next time. So this guy's target number is 13. Cal is attacking as a 2nd level fighter. So he's got +2 and another +2. That puts him at a 12. That's not enough to hit. But he is attacking. He does have 1 more attack. This guy drops his bow, but he gets another attack in and fails to hit the archer once more. The archer is going to use his last action. He is going to attack with a sword of his own, landing a hit, doing d6 damage to Cal. Wow. And no, that does not kill Cal. Sorry, Cal has. He didn't roll very well for HP, so he's pretty low already. Okay, so now moving here, Derleth's conjured monster is going to take some swipes at her, but she's going to roll intelligence to see if she can determine whether or not it's an illusion. She actually does. She's like, oh, there's no way this thing is real. That's magic crap, and I don't believe this is real. So she is no longer able to be affected by the illusion, which is sort of unfortunate. By the way, I forgot to roll fatigue for our buddy here, so we'll just do that really quick. So he just cast a 2nd level spell. So he's going to roll his d6. Rolls a 3. And that is -2 from his pool of 13. So he's at 11 spell points left. All right. So the creature's attack does absolutely nothing to her. She's not afraid of it. So we'll go over here. Hans and this other 1st level halfling fighter are going to attack each other. We will let the halfling fighter go first because she's quicker. So she's going to attack with her short sword, failing spectacularly. And then we'll have Hans attack with his sword. She's operating on a... Okay, that's another failed hit. They both just failed to connect with each other again. This guy's going to attempt to restrain Derleth, and Derleth is going to try and shake him off. So this guy's going to try a strength score. That's a critical success. Derleth is going to counter with a 16, and his strength is 14. So he barely is unable to stop this guy. So this guy's trying to stop Derleth from casting spells. So instead, Derleth is going to call to his monster to come and get this guy. So we're moving into the next round. It's not looking good. We're doing a pretty poor job at stopping these wedding crashers. So let's go back into the movement phase. And, I'm just going to move these guys around real quick. I'm going to cut, and I'll just move them around. We're back after moving, and I have once again regained control of my mathematic comprehension. So for some reason, for the span of about 5 minutes there, I'd completely forgotten how descending armor class works, despite using it all the time. So, yeah, I just forgotten that low AC is good, high AC bad. Anyway, so what had happened is that these guys, this is the end result of our movement. She's almost up there to do this thing. Bragg rolled very poorly trying to hop over this thing. You guys need to stop that. She rolled very poorly, jumping over that. She stumbles into the pew ahead of her. I think that's because she's now exhausted from those furious attacks. And we're going to continue to execute this combat. So first and foremost, we're going to have a strength check here from Donna to try and restrain the red-headed woman. And she rolls abysmally. You want to roll low here. Come on, Donna. How hard can it be? So now I'm actually going to roll for Derleth to escape. We need to roll under a 14. A 17? No, because the dice are determined to be against me today. And that's just what happens sometimes. When I'm alone, I roll poorly. When I'm with a group, they all roll poorly. So, what a good time. In any case, we're going to go into the melee now. I'm very eager to get this guy off of Derleth, so we're going to have Derleth's shadow monster leap onto this guy and attack him. He's going to make an intelligence check. He's going to make a 7, which I can't actually remember what I rolled this guy's intelligence to be, so we're going to do it on the spot. We're going to roll 3d6. That's a 7 just by itself, and that's a 9. So not super intelligent, but intelligent enough to realize that's fake. I thought the spell was super cool, and now I understand how weak it is. So Derleth is going to probably dismiss this thing pretty soon here. But we are going to give him another chance to fight because Derleth, being level 3 as a magic user, actually has 2 attempts to fight. So Derleth is now going to become rather violent, and he's going to headbutt this guy in the face. So being level 3, he gets +3, and he gets another +1, I want to say, from being his level. No, he gets 3 attacks because he's level 3, huh? But I think he actually gets. No. That's wrong. He. I've never used this system before ever for combat. I wanted to just see how it runs. I think it's very interesting. It's actually the order of operations is similar to something like AD&D, but it's a lot more. Okay, so magic user fighting capability. He fights he gets 2 attacks here, and he gets another +1 on those attacks. So he gets a +4 total. He's not actually going to struggle to get 3. He's actually going to try and hurt this guy now. Because he's like, get the heck off me, you crazy knife ear. So he's actually going to attack him while being grappled. So this guy has an armor class of, what was it again? I think this guy's wearing leather. And what is that? I don't really want to go back in there. I think leather, we're looking at a target number of around 13 or 14. It's not that good. I think it's like 12. So we're going to try 12. So that's D20 +4. That's 12 +4, 16. He actually does hit him. So he's actually going to deal damage to this dude. This dude is going to attempt to maintain grapple and then probably attack if that fails. He succeeds in maintaining grapple. We're going to have him attack. His target number is 14, which he fails. So he takes D6 damage. Takes 3 damage from Derleth headbutting him in the nose. This combat, we're going to have Cal attack this guy, which he succeeds in doing. We're going to have this guy retaliate, which he also succeeds in doing. And then Cal gets 1 more, which he succeeds. So we're looking at, oh boy. Actually, I think Cal only gets 1 D6 off before going down. Cal gets 2 damage on this guy and then takes... Okay, no, Cal lives, so he gets another D6 damage. Another 2. Come on, buddy. so now we're going to go over here and we're going to see what Hans can do. Come on, Hans. Once again, she's going to attack first because she's a lot more nimble. She fails to connect, and Hans... he connects. I'm getting it mixed up. You got to roll high in some places, low in some places. You figured I'd know this by now, but I haven't actually done solo OSR stuff for quite some time. So he connects. He's doing D6 damage, and he does a single point of damage. Sucks to suck. It sucks also when the rest of your team also sucks. Donna has had about enough, and what level is she? She's a 1st level. She gets a single attack. I'm going to give her an attack against this lady. She's really frustrated. She pulls her sword out and is going to whiff and not hit at all. Okay, we got to make this work this next round. Okay, so Donna and the red-haired woman have reached the front there. If Donna can't restrain her now, mischief is going to happen, and I have no clue what her plan is. I'm going to randomize it on the fly. Whether her plan is to kill all 3 of them or to somehow restrain George and jump out the window. I don't know what her plan here is. I don't think she's very smart, nor do I think she thought this through. But Donna's going to try and stop her. Brega's barely keeping up in the background, having gotten up from her stumble. We're still locked in melee here and here. That's very scary. This is kind of sad, and this is incredibly infuriating. So that's... okay, Donna. You have a single chance. You need to roll below a 15 to get this done. She does it. She does it. She does it. She manages to do it. She restrains this lady, or maybe. I guess we should check her strength as well. Oy. Okay, Donna, just attack her. Just slash her in the back, or don't. That's cool too. I don't know if Derleth wants to team up with these guys. If Derleth manages to make it out of here without too many injuries, I think he's gonna. I don't think he wants to team up with these people. So we're gonna figure out what this woman's plan is right now. I wanted to roll some dice for this, but I think I'm gonna do a D3. So, actually, I'm gonna roll this kind of like morale, and it's gonna be just in increasing levels of unhinged, with 1 being the least unhinged. She ran up here literally just to say some piece, and this is a massive over dramatization, and literally someone lost their life over this. 2, she's being slightly violent, and then we just kind of go up from there. Whereas 6 is like the nuclear option. She's 100% homicidal, and is just not gonna let this go. 1, I can't freaking believe this. I mean, is combat just over? She just like stop? No, man. Okay, that's clownish. So she's up front and she's saying some spiel to George that none of us can hear because we're too busy fighting in the background. Meanwhile, Donna's about ready to rip this woman's head off. I can only imagine how frustrated she is. This has been this clownish pursuit all the way up the aisle. Meanwhile, her friend beats her other friend to death. she's probably like gazing daggers at the back of that woman right now. Meanwhile, Derleth, his spell did absolutely nothing besides look cool, and this elf back here is just like manhandling him. These two are just clanging their weapons together uselessly, and Cal is teetering on the verge of death right there, which Derleth is not going to suffer. So there's something strange going on up there. Derleth can't perceive that. He's being attacked here. I'm going to be merciful for once. Normally, I'm brutal to myself and I just let people die, but I'm actually going to execute this stuff almost in reverse because I want Derleth to get loose from this guy. So Derleth is now going to try and get loose and cast a spell. So he's going to, he needs to roll below a 14, which he does. Let's see, does this guy... Okay, thankfully, this guy does not manage to keep hold of Derleth. Derleth gets loose and begins intoning a spell. So now we'll go melee. We'll have her go first once again. That's another failure to connect, and he'll also roll. Yeah, good job, guys. Are you fighting or are you dancing? What's going on over there? I'm actually getting frustrated myself because this has just gone. It's like a circus. This has been so clownish. This is what happens when. No, it would have happened anyway. I was about to say this is what happens when you approach with no plan, but it really would have happened anyway. Okay, no, we're gonna do this. Okay, so what's the plan here? Does Donna actually just attack? No, Donna is now stunned because this woman came all the way up here, swinging a sword around, and is now delivering an impassioned speech. So Donna is just... Her mouth is agape, her sword is still over her head. And she's in shock as what's going on here. Meanwhile, she's marching up the aisle like a steamroller. We'll let this melee go. Does Kel surrender? I don't know why I'm leaving it up to dice. I feel like Kel should surrender at this point. In fact, I'm going to roll morale for him. He rolls 1, totally unaffected. He's ready to fight this man to the death. Okay, bud. That's what you wanted. Here we go. That's a failed hit. He gets a hit against you. 17. It's over. Kel had 1 hit point left, and he just threw it away. So Derleth lost one of his, I would say friend, but it's more like an acquaintance. So now there's a death. This situation is getting worse and worse. There's a death on both sides of the conflict. Oh, my word. You know what? These two don't actually seem all that hostile towards each other. I think what's going to happen... Combat's over. Combat is over, except maybe not in her eyes, because she's very upset. So here's how this plays out in my head. This has been a pretty weird night for everybody involved. The guests have all fled in terror. The pews are damaged because an armored dwarf just jumped over them and smashed headlong into them. A nightmare creature appeared in the middle of the aisle and then was promptly ignored by everyone. And at this point, Derleth has just heard that up there at the altar, there, instead of violence, is an impassioned, bitter speech taking place. So what ends up happening is Derleth, in the middle of his spell, seeing Kel fall and seeing what's going on up at the altar, stops casting his spell and is staring in shock as at what's taking place up there. The elf, I'll call him Cedric, who was manhandling Derleth just a minute ago, also stops and turns around and sees what's going on up the altar. To Derleth's surprise, Cedric also looks just utterly flabbergasted. The reason? The reason is because neither he nor the rest of his party knew exactly what their leader was planning. Only that she had been upset for days and asked them to come to support her. So now, with 2 people dead, the chapel needing some extensive repairs, and a wedding utterly ruined, both sides kind of have stopped fighting, including the tickle fight that was happening on the east part of the chapel. They've both turned to look at this as well. And the absurdity of the entire situation has just sunk into both parties.